Right, okay, thank you. Let's get to the minutes then of the meeting of the 24th of September, which I will quickly go through now for accuracy, starting on page 2. Everyone's got a copy there. 3, 4.
I think on page 3, the concerns that were raised around the audit process and the fraud in particular aren't articulated as well as they should be in these minutes, and we did agree that we would be fleshing out our concerns at an upcoming workshop, which isn't noted.
They could be, you're talking about the recommendations corporate strategic.
No, I'm talking
Adoption of the
about
annual report.
page 3, item 8.
Hang on. Okay. So your issue there was?
Some councillors raised some rather large concerns, and I don't think that they are given the recognition of the concerns in the minutes that I certainly placed on them anyway. So the fact that we did have the discussion around audit and risk procedures, and that we had agreement that they would be followed up in an upcoming audit and risk workshop.
It is noted at the bottom of page 4.
It was part of the discussion.
Okay.
The point's made that I think we covered a full discussion far more than is made in the minutes. And it wasn't part of the corporate strategic, it was part of a review. Councillor Barker and myself and you.
Yeah, but was it pulled up in recommendations from corporate strategic? Well, my question is...
No, it was part of the annual report discussion. And it's quite important.
And you don't believe that it's covered accurate or competently in 10 or competently?
Number 8.
Yeah, number 8, exactly. But the issue, is the issue fleshed out enough for you in item 10?
I think there were separate issues.
Just give me a moment.
Can I suggest under number 8 that particular concerns around audit and risk and in particular fraud are noted? That has been raised by councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Okay, let's move on then. Page number 4. Finish that, 5 and 6. Page 7, page 8, 9 and 10. Someone happy to move they are a true and correct record? Thank you, Councillor Hewitt, for that. Seconded Councillor Bevan. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Any matters arising from those minutes? Thank you. There being none, let's move on then. We'll have to, Mr Mohi is not quite here yet. Follow-ups from previous council meetings on page 3. Hand that over to the Chief Executive.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. There's only the one specific follow-up from the last meeting, which was the Napier Port amended constitution, and that has been is covered by item 12 on the agenda today.
Mr Chairman, around the Lagoima requests, these are now becoming more and more fulsome with more and more detail being demanded. this actually becomes a matter, and presumably we may be considering this at the annual plan workshop, but the cost of these requests. I don't know, my suspicion is that there is an increasing cost there, but without figures to go by, I couldn't quantify that. But how much are we going to need to be looking at, and the impact that has on ratepayers?
Well, we need
Needs to be considered in our
to provide
budgeting.
resource to answer the Lagoima request because it's a statutory requirement to do so. And however many are submitted is what it needs to be done. The policy that we have in place is there's no charge for the first hour of work done, so that's fairly rigorously followed, so that if there is any costs over and above that, then that's passed on to the person doing the requesting. What we've found since we've set up our system for recording them and noting them is that, particularly where there's duplication, we're able to reduce the costs, or if we think that there was a similar request made 12 months ago by somebody else, we can go back and can use that information, or if necessary update it. So it does reduce the costs, but there's certainly a reasonably significant workload on the corporate support people to administer these, and on the individual staff members whose expertise is required to actually answer the questions.
What does
Councillor Dick.
what does request status transferred mean in the case?
In that particular case, it's an ability. We sometimes receive them, they're transferred from government departments, but in this case we've transferred this particular request to Hawke's Bay Regional Investment Company because we do not hold the information.
Thanks.
Thank you. Further questions? Someone happy to move that we accept this item? Councillor Scott moved. We have a seconder. For that, everyone's gazing at their papers except Councillor Graham, who seconds that. That's good, thank you. Anyone wish to speak? You're all a bit flat today, councillors. We need a coffee shortly. Just G up. I don't want to G up too much, but G up a little bit. Okay, moved, seconded. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Thank you. Minor items not on the agenda. Are there any? I have one. Simon Lusk and innuendo.
Perhaps you could add the Central Hawke's Bay pathway opening too, please.
Right. Thank you. Affixing the common seal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wish to circulate around to councillors maps or aerial photos actually showing the location of 1.2 and 1.3. One's a memorandum of agreement, Muddy Creek. The other one's an Esplanade strip for Lake Runanga, just off Ohiti Road. The remainder of the seals are, as you can see, for leasehold land sales and one for a staff warrant. So happy to answer any questions.
Bit of activity.
Staff warrants are the ability of, or the approval for staff to act under certain pieces of legislation. For example, they may have powers under any civil defence emergency. They may have powers to enter a property under certain Resource Management Act requirements, for example. So they're fairly standard warrants.
Further questions? If there be no further questions, Councillor Scott, happy to move. We have a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Graham. Well done. Okay. Further discussion?
Chairman, it is interesting to note the constant number of land sales. We have not experienced such a pattern at any stage that I've been on this council. It is now post the discount. It's a rather surprising result.
Okay, no further comments, discussion. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Thank you. Right.